Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Living in Muchness podcast. I am your Muchness host, Glenn Agoncillo. Thank you so much for tuning in today, whether you're joining us while you're out for your walk, or perhaps you may be driving to the office, or maybe you're unwinding at home after a long day at work. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, 2 more times. Thank you. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Okay, that wasn't enough. 4 more times. Welcome. This is a safe space and brave space for you to just be you. On today's episode, I'm revealing the number 5 mantra I tell myself every day. Today, we're talking about 3 words. That's right, just 3 words that actually have the power to change your life. Do you want to know what that is? Are you ready for my 5th mantra? My 5th mantra is, that was then. That was then. Now think about that for a second. We all have a then. We all have a story of who we used to be, what we failed at, or what happened to us. But for so many of us, that then is still running the show right now. If you're a baby boomer, maybe your then is a career you're no longer in, or perhaps a set of rules about success that don't fit anymore. If you're a Gen Xer like me, maybe that independent latchkey story, I'm sure you're familiar with it. You know, the one that says you have to do everything yourself because no one else will. Now, for millennials, maybe you're carrying the weight of who you were supposed to be by now. And if you're a Gen Xer, maybe your story is defined by the anxiety of a world that feels like a constant fire, that the world is always on fire. You see, regardless of your age or where you're at in your life, we all have and carry old stories. So today, we're going to learn how to acknowledge them. And yes, thank them for keeping us safe. You heard me right. We are going to thank them for keeping us safe. And then finally, turn the page to something new. We're going to create new stories, or at least prepare ourselves for new stories that are waiting to be created. Today, we're also going to be using the wisdom of 2 mentors and how they taught me to bridge the gap between where I was and where I'm going. So what do you say? Let's get started, right? Okay, I'm ready. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. I know that you're probably ready now too. And you're probably just as excited as I am. Yes, let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so I want to kick things off with a beautiful image from the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, the father of motivation. You see, I've had the honor to witness Dr. Wayne Dyer in action many moons ago in my mid-20s. I attended a summit where Dr. Dyer talked about the wake of a boat. If you don't know what a wake of a boat is, it's that trail of white, bubbly, foamy thing that's left behind a ship. Like when the ship is out to sea or in a lake, there's this white, foamy, bubbly thing it leaves behind. That's the wake. Dr. Dyer then asked the crowd, does the wake drive the boat? And I was thinking to myself, like, of course not, it doesn't. You see, the wake is just a trail of where the boat has been. It has no engine, it has no fuel. In fact, it has no power to move the ship, not even an inch. At that moment, I had an aha experience, realizing that most of my life, I was trying to steer my life while staring exclusively at the wake. I would say I can't start a business because, oh my God, I've failed at so many things in my life. Or maybe perhaps you probably know this one. I can't trust anyone because of my last breakup. That feels familiar for me. Do you feel me? I'm sure you do. And I'm making up a story that you've probably experienced something like this at any given point of your life. You see, I was clinging to these old stories because they were predictable. They were predictable. I know the start, the middle, and the end. It's like that movie that I've watched over and over and over and over. I know the start, the middle, and the end. There's a strange safety in the known, even if the known is painful. But as Dr. Wayne Dyer taught me, true growth requires me to enter the unknown. I really have to realize that the trail behind me is not the engine within me. I'll repeat that. The trail behind me is not the engine within me. That was then. Now, sometimes the story isn't even ours. Sometimes we're living out a script that was written by our parents, or maybe perhaps their parents, which would be our grandparents, or maybe perhaps our grandparents' parents. I don't know if you've ever experienced or caught yourself saying, like, oh my God, I just sounded like my mother. Or, oh my God, that's something my dad would say. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You see, I was watching an episode of Iyanla Vanzant where she identifies these generational patterns. I used to call them generational trauma, but moving forward, I'm choosing to call them generational patterns simply because when I say generational trauma, I feel like there's a lot of shame and blame behind that. So again, moving forward, I'm choosing to identify these as generational patterns. Iyanla talks about the value in the valley, that there's this idea that we all go through the low points, but some of us decide to build a house there and stay there forever. Think about the patterns in your family. Is it a pattern of silence? A pattern of total shutdown? Is it a pattern of just getting by, or maybe perhaps a pattern of addiction or emotional distance? Maybe including a pattern of survival. For Gen Xers, it might be a pattern of being stoic. For Gen Zers, it might be a pattern of performative perfection. You see, in order to create a new story, I learned I have to acknowledge the past. I have to look at the start, the middle, and the end of those ancestral stories, of those generational patterns, and say to them, I see you. I understand why you happened, but I am choosing a different ending for me. I learned I cannot heal what I refuse to look at, that I have to face them. You see, acknowledging the past isn't about blame. It's not about shame. It's not about othering. It's about liberation. It's about saying that pattern was then and my healing is now. Now, as a Gen Xer, I grew up in the latchkey generation. Like, I would come home from school to an empty house because my mom was working her butt off. She was at work. So, during that time, I learned to cook, to clean, to do laundry. And later on in life, I learned how to manage my finances. I did things on my own. I mean, how I didn't even have time to complain. I didn't ask for help. I mean, how could I? My mom was working her tail off. And at that time, she was making I think she was getting paid under the table. She wasn't even making minimum wage. And if I questioned or even complained, or even just the idea of I'm going to complain about this, I would be perceived as defiant, deviant, or ungrateful. I'm laughing at it because I know those are old stories, and I know that in the past they would hit me really hard. But where I'm at now, my journey, my current journey, it's starting to feel kind of funny because I know that I am not a deviant person. I know I'm not ungrateful. And I know that I wasn't defiant. However, during those times, I learned just do it and don't ask questions. I learned not to ask for help, which when I look back, I knew was not healthy for me mentally. And then now I realize why I battled depression and anxiety. Oh, and then on top of that, think about all these other societal pressures of being gay in the 90s. And on top of that, an immigrant who grew up poor, who was totally made fun of. All of that. All of those things I was carrying. That was then. That was so then. Perhaps parts of my stories are something that you can relate to. I would like to hear your previous story, your old stories. Yeah, drop them in the comments because I'd like to know what old stories you experience or what old stories still feel like current stories for you. As we draw this episode to a close, I want to take a moment to simply breathe. Let's breathe. I know what I just shared was very heavy. It was definitely heavy for me. I'm noticing my shoulders feel really tight right now. So let's just take a moment and join me with some mindful breaths. Let's do 3 mindful breaths of an inhale, an exhale, and another inhale, and exhale, and another inhale, and exhale. Yeah. Those were a lot of old stories that they still feel, they still have a charge. So at this present moment, feel the weight of the stories that you've been carrying. Where are they located in your body? Perhaps maybe your shoulders feel heavy or your chest feels tight, or you're noticing that you are doing the survival breath, where you're not really breathing, you're just breathing a little bit. Feel the weight of the stories that you've been carrying all these years. the ones that have been passed down through your bloodline and the ones you've written for yourself, like in the dark. We have spent some time looking at the wake of your life. You know, that trail of white, bubbly foam that has no power to drive the ship. It is a profound act of courage to look at your life and say, that was then. It isn't a dismissal of your pain or a denial of your history. It is a declaration of your evolution. Whether you're a baby boomer redefining your purpose or a Gen Xer breaking a cycle of being stoic, a millennial trying to let go of an idealized timeline, or maybe you're Gen Zer reclaiming your identity from the digital noise. Just know that you are doing the sacred work of reauthoring your soul. You are moving from the certainty of a painful past into the glorious uncertainty of a new potential. Now, to help you integrate this work, I want to leave you with 2 questions to sit with this week. After all, it wouldn't be a Living in Muchness podcast if we didn't do some reflecting, right? So, take a moment right now to grab a journal, grab like a piece of paper or something to write with, or if you're driving, maybe you can do this later, but just bookmark it and make a reminder for yourself to do this exercise later. Go ahead and grab a cup of tea or coffee, and right now I'm going to take a little bit of a water break. Okay. And I really invite you to just let the answers flow without judgment. Okay? So, question number 1, and I'm going to repeat this twice. What is one story I have been using as a shield to protect myself from the vulnerability and the risk of starting a new story? Let me repeat that one more time. What is one story I have been using as a shield to protect myself from the vulnerability and the risk of starting a new story? Inhale. Exhale. Question number 2. Again, just let the answers flow without any judgment. If I completely accepted that my past was exactly as it needed to be for me to reach this moment of awareness, who would I have the freedom to become today? Okay, I'm going to repeat this. If I completely accepted that my past and the past of my ancestors, maybe, was exactly as it needed to be for me to reach this moment of awareness, who would I have the freedom to become today? So, for the next 7 days, I want you to try a simple but transformative practice. I say we'll call this the then label. We'll call it the then label. Several times a day, your mind will naturally drift into a wake. A memory of a mistake will pop up, or a generational feel will whisper in your ear, or a limiting belief will tell you why you can't succeed. Then what happens? I want you to pause, place a hand on your heart, and simply say out loud or in your mind, that was then. That was then. That was so then. That was then. That was their business. That's their experience. That was then. Do not argue with the thought. Do not try to fix the memory. Just label it. You see, by labeling it, you are putting that experience back on the shelf of history, reminding your ego that while that event happened, it is not happening right now. It's not happening right now. Not now. Next week, we will reach the summit of our journey together. Yep. Next week will be the 6th mantra that I will be revealing. But for today, we learned how to clear the clutter from the past, and we've also identified the patterns that no longer serves us. Now, it is time for us to step into the fullness of our light. And I just want to let you know that this was planned accordingly, knowing that the lunar calendar will be shifting in the next week. Now, currently, we are in the year of the snake, which is all about shedding, letting go of the past, letting go of the old versions of ourselves, as we welcome the new year of the horse, which is all about moving forward. It's all about moving forward, riding it to the sunset. Next week, I invite you, I don't know what happened there. Next week, I hope that you will join me for the 6th and final mantra of this series. I'm not going to reveal what that 6th mantra is. However, next week, just to give you a little preview, we will explore the radical power of absolute presence, the beauty of the blank page, and how to finally live the life you've been preparing for. You've done the work of looking back. You have acknowledged and thanked your old stories, and you will continue to do so for the next week. Now, it is time for us to be here. It is time for us to be here. Now. Now is the time. Thank you for listening. And remember, your history is just a story, but you are the one holding the pen. And just a simple reminder, and I'm going to say this to you and tell you this every single time. You are loved just the way you are. More reason to live in your muchness. Thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, be well. Goodbye.